Howdy guys, Radio Magic here. I hope you're all having a fantastic morning, day, afternoon or evening, wherever you are and whatever you are up to. Today we are back on the channel testing how viable is Control in the historic meta, whether you are trying to climb to Mythic or maybe you're just trying to make your opponent's lives as miserable as possible. Either way, I'm sure we have the Control list somewhere for you. But today we're going to be giving Jeskai Control a go. So Jeskai's been the list we have played the most on the channel since Strixhaven because it's had so many amazing Mystical Archive cards introduced to it. And I've just loved the list. I've loved Jeskai all around. Hasn't been my favourite list in the past, but with this set, and I think probably ultimately just referring to Lightning Helix here, it's just been a really fun list to play. So yeah, I've super enjoyed it. So yeah, we're going to be revisiting Jeskai today to see how we get on with that. For those of you that aren't interested in a deck tech or anything, you understand what these cards do. I'm not going to go into a full deck tech, but I'm going to go over a few cards that we've made changes from the last video in case you've been watching the Jeskai series so far, just Control. Go down into the description below and you will find timestamps for the games with no spoilers or anything, just so you can skip ahead to them and skip over this boring deck tech, I guess, if that's the thought that's going through your head. But yeah, anyway, on to the list. So things we've included different from last time. We've had our Soul Guide Lantern in just because we want to be prepped for this graveyard meta that's happening. Pretty much every deck is utilizing their graveyard in one way or another. And I think Soul Guide Lantern, it was suggested to me because we normally play Rest in Peace or Grafdigger's Cage. Soul Guide Lantern was a good introduction when someone suggested, because I was playing Torrential Gearhulk in the last list and Searchers Canter, you should probably play Soul Guide Lantern because it doesn't hit your graveyard. And yeah, I guess they didn't, I don't know if they said this, but you can also just replace it at the same time. So we have cut the Torrential Gearhulk, Lorehole's Command, and one of the Searchers Canters, but I still think Soul Guide Lantern is good. And there's for us a few other reasons as well that we'll go on to in a second. So hopefully we'll bump into a few decks in which Soul Guide Lantern's going to be good against. But if we don't bump into them lists, at least we can cycle it for essentially 2 mana, the 1 mana to play it and then sack it. So it's kind of like Glimpse of Freedom in a way, which is a good segue onto another card that we've decided to include. So Glimpse of Freedom is a card I am insane as to why I've not been including any escape cards in my Control lists. Did a little bit of research on other people playing different Control lists, try to get an idea as to different things we should be playing. And yeah, Glimpse of Freedom came up as a reason as to like, why are we not utilizing our graveyard? It feels like you're just wasting a resource. It's like when going back to when I used to play Standard and people used to play Energy was a big thing. Teamer Energy went around and it always felt like you were at a disadvantage because your opponent's using an entire resource that you are not utilizing. And it kind of feels that way with the graveyard. The graveyard's a really powerful thing that you can utilize. So why don't we do that? We obviously are running Searchers Canter, but it doesn't really utilize our graveyard. It just cares about having the 7 cards. So Glimpse of Freedom is just a really good way at instant speed. So it works with all of our counter magic and other instants in the list to essentially just 2 mana draw a card. But then later on, we can escape it for 3 mana to exile 5 other cards from our graveyard. And we get to cast it again. So we get to draw a card, which is pretty good when you're sitting in the late game and you've got like 12 cards in your graveyard and you've top decked a land, but you've got Glimpse in your graveyard. You're in a pretty good situation to just recast this twice maybe, or just once to redraw and hopefully not hit that land again. Or it's just a good way on turn 2 to make sure you keep hitting your land drops if you're missing land drops. So yeah, we're going to try the one of Glimpse of Freedom. Some people run this in the main and some people run this in the sideboard. We're going to try it in the main just as a way to make sure we see how it feels in each game that we play. But it could be quite possible that you just want to run this in the board instead. But Glimpse of Freedom in testing I've been really excited about and it's performed really well. So hopefully we can get some of them on footage today and highlight how good this card is. Other cards we've decided to include, we've gone down in our set from last time just because we had to make room for some of the cuts. We're playing Soul Seer as something that I had seen a few other people play, so I thought we'd give it a go. Ronus has been popping up from the Selesnya list, and it's really difficult for us to answer that outside of cast out or outside of just stopping your opponent from having any other creatures to pump to get Ronus to attack. So Soul Seer is a way to do that, but it's also not dead in the other matchups because it's actually quite a lot of reach. 3 mana, 5 damage is pretty good. Instant speed, and it gets around indestructible while also answering opposing Teferis, Narsets, It can get Nissas, I guess, but other Planeswalkers at the same time. Chandras as well, 4-mana Chandra, not that many people are playing that. So yeah, Soulseer is pretty good. We decided to finally cut down in the amount of absorbs. It was left in the comments of a few videos ago that we probably shouldn't be playing 4 absorbs just because it's getting to a point that Historic might be a bit underwhelming for a 3-mana counterspell. And in somewhat, I do agree with that statement. I think the problem I've had in the past was feeling comfortable with your 4 unconditional counterspells that also do something on top of that. In this case, gaining 3 life. But I think maybe with the Lightning Helixes, the inclusion and the kind of and the inclusion of Memory Lapse, kind of feels like Absorb's slot is not being filtered out entirely, because I do think you need a hard counterspell somewhere in the list in the original 60. But its role's sort of being covered by other cards. So yeah, we've decided to cut down on this a little bit. And on a side note to that as well, we always do run other counterspells on the board, like Dovin's Veto, Aethergust. Aethergust not a counterspell, but sort of like that, and Mystical Dispute. So it's not like we haven't got other things for when we need them, but unless you're quite far in front, then Absorb doesn't feel too powerful, or you're getting to turn 5 where you can Absorb plus Helix, which turn 5 you can quite often be dead in Historic. That very much does happen. So before turn 5, Absorb just feels like it's not really switched on. We've finally done our split between Day of Judgment and Wrath of God, which is something I would 100% recommend everyone to do until regeneration becomes a thing in Historic or in Arena, because yeah, there's no reason not to be splitting these up. If you can think of a reason, then throw it in the comments down below, but I'm sure just 2-2 split is just correct. We've gone up on the amount of fairies, but I haven't settled on 4 yet. I think 4 5-mana cards that is essentially like a removal spell, or it just gains you a bit of life and replaces itself, probably isn't the right way to go, but I have gone up because Teferi's great, love him, and yeah, just want to see how it performs overall, because he's our main finisher in the list, especially since we have decided to cut 2 Shark Typhoons as well. We are now only running 2 Shark Typhoons instead of the 4, because they are really good, and they're a really good closer. They're good against most lists, but I get the distinct feeling around Shark Typhoon that there's definitely matchups where it's not as good as other cards you could potentially have in there. So we had to make cuts from somewhere, so we decided to cut 2 of these, but I am still running the other 2 in the board. I don't know if you just want the 3rd one in the board, or maybe you just want to be running 4 in the main, or whatever. My personal opinion on this is you want to be running 4 Shark Typhoons across the 75. That might change as we play today's video. I might go back to the 4 in the main, or I might keep these in the board, or I might just cut more down altogether and just run 3 in the 75 instead. I don't know. We'll have to test them and see how we get on. But again, much like Absorb, it's been like a safety blanket since Shark Typhoon came out, because it's just such an all-round good card. I don't really want to cut them if possible. But it's probably getting to a point now where 6 mana is just kind of expensive to spend on an enchantment, and Shark Typhoon's not really that great until turn 3 when you can at least make a 1/1. But a lot of the time it's kind of like a revitalize in a way. If you're casting on turn 3, you can chump block your opponent's creature, maybe it's 2 or 3 power, save you that amount of life and replace itself, which is you're not playing Revitalize in the list, so you wouldn't be playing that. It's just got the favour of being really good in the late game. But a lot of Historic is normally determined before you get to turn 7, 8 or 9. It's normally, by the time Shark Typhoon becomes really, really good, the game's normally already decided who's going to win. But that being said, we still want to run some number of them because they are really good in the late game and they're a really good finisher. That being said as well, we cut one of our other finishers with Castle Ardenvale. We're just running the 1 castle now because we had to make room for some other cuts, and we don't want a land that enters tapped unless we have a plains. According to our mana as well, we are running a fair amount of plains, but we're definitely heavy on the blue. So a lot of our mana has been skewed towards that as well. I did want to run 6 mana Niv Mizzet Perun as well, but I don't think we can really do that with only 5 red sources. Obviously, we have the 3 Fable Passages to go find our 1 mountain. But outside of that, I don't think it's really realistic to cast a Niv Mizzet. We could skew the mana a bit and maybe add some more red cards to do that. Maybe like Chandra or something if we went down on the Absorbs altogether. But at the moment, we're going to stick on not playing Niv Mizzet and sticking with our Brainstorm Fable Passage combo. Because this is a combo that I try to stay away from Brainstorm in 3 color lists, but it might just be that Brainstorm's just a really, really powerful card and you need to include your Fable Passages in your 3 color list to make Brainstorm work. So we will give it a test today and see how we get on. Typically, I prefer them in Azorius and Dimir. But yeah, like I said, we will see how we get on with Brainstorm and Fable Passage in a 3 color list where mana is a little bit more off. And I think the last inclusion of something that we decided to change from the last Jeskai video is the inclusion of Censor. So Censor works really well with Glimpse of Freedom. It works really well with Search Ascanter. Cycles in the late game if you don't want it. You can cycle it on turn 1 if you need to find additional lands. And it can catch some people out. If once you get censored, you're kind of in a position where it's like, that felt really bad. I wish I just played my land before I cast my spell now. Or you just wish you waited an extra turn. So Censor's good. We'll see how it gets on overall. Not too certain on how it will do. Could it just be that you just don't need the Censors and we should just go back up on other things? I don't know, more removal or other bits. Maybe we can go back up to them 4 Shark Typhoons. So I'll already try to wheel them back into the list. But yeah, we will see. But I make these intros already long enough as it is. So we will try and move on to some games. As always, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, how the games get on. Shout out the misplays that I make and different inclusions and things we could change with this list. Put them all down in the comments down below because I read every one of the comments and try to reply as many as possible. But yeah, that was the list. I hope you guys enjoyed the games and I will catch you again at the end with the wrap up. Okay, so on the play in Historic with some more Jeskai Control. I realise I've been playing Jeskai quite a lot recently, but it's got to be my favourite deck this season so far, especially when it comes to control. And this hand looks like a really reasonable hand to keep, so I'm going to keep this. Lightning Helix is good in pretty much most matchups, and Memory Lapse is pretty excellent 2-mana counter spells, so can't really go too wrong with this. Opponent's going to... Oh, no hand hate. Fully expecting the hand hate. I think we're going to shock here just to have the option of Memory Lapse or Lightning Helix. We'll see. But yeah, this Knight of the Ebon Legion is not longed for this world. Okay, so maybe there's some Orzhov aggro here. Just get this down now, I guess, and then we'll just Lightning Helix the Thalia if we want to. Guess we'll have to shock again. It's fine though. Thalia's like a bit of a pain, but like it's not awful, especially when we're on the play. Thalia definitely doesn't hurt us much. Happy to take the 2 here and just see what our opponent's up to. Just another Knight. And another Knight. So yeah, I think I'm just going to Lightning Helix Thalia. Then we don't have to shock for this Soul Seer next turn if our opponent decides to pump one of the Knights. Or we get to hold up Memory Lapse. Which I guess we get to do anyway, so it's fine. Also just like gives us the opportunity if... I mean... It's not up as end step for some reason. It gives us the opportunity if we top decked board wipe, we could board wipe, which... I guess we'd probably do if we found one. We're shocking here. Yeah, we'll shock. It really depends, because if our opponent decides to pump one of the Knights, then we'll Soul Seer that Knight. If our opponent decides not to, then I guess we're electing to... They're going to cast something on their turn, which is probably our Memory Lapse target, and then or Censor target. But I think I'm getting to a point where I'm definitely happy just to cycle the Censor. We included Censor into this list, but I don't know how I feel about it, like if it's a good enough inclusion anymore. It was good until we had things like Memory Lapse, but now I think probably like as far as turn 2 plays go, Censor's probably fallen off a little bit. Certainly just the cycling that's keeping it relevant. Yeah. I mean, as I'm saying all of that, we get a pretty excellent Censor target, so yeah, happy for that. This is when our opponent plays that untapped land now, wishing that they played it before. Okay, no, maybe not. Yeah, just pretty much running back next turn now. So our opponent's up to, hopefully they pump a Knight. Guess we could even like set up the Cycle Shark Typhoon and then try and get them to pump next turn. We'll block with our Shark and then they'll pump and then we'll Soul Seer that. So not sure. It's like a few things we can do. Okay, if our opponent's just going to pump this turn, then which knight's been pumped? The left one. Yeah, we'll just Selesnya now. Happy to use up 3 of our opponent's mana. If we find a land, Shark Typhoon can block this pretty well. I don't know what I'm really scared of our opponent naming. I think the reason I'd memory lapse this is just to... I guess we're planning on casting a big shark next turn. So it's probably the reason to do it now. And it sort of guarantees that our opponent's going to draw something not relevant. Yeah, we've got all of our double colours already. That doesn't really matter. Yeah, we'll just guarantee our opponent doesn't draw something relevant next turn. And yeah, just go for the cycle here, I guess. So it turns into a 4-5. It looks like just some sort of Orzhov kind of aggro, like tempo, just disrupt, like hate cards. Opponent's just going to go over the Lightning Helix. Yeah, that's fine. I think we probably just want to cast this Shark Typhoon. I don't know if our opponent's got like many answers to it, but it's going to be really difficult for our opponent to beat a Shark Typhoon, like hard cast. So I think we are just going to cast this out. They could have the new like Orzhov. I don't know if it's an instant or sorcery, but exile target mono-colored non-land permanent or permanent. Which obviously hits us pretty hard. Probably should have just cycled the Shark Typhoon if we think that's going to be the case. But we get to Glimpse and then escape Glimpse next turn if we want to, which triggers the Shark. So yeah, we can probably just take 5 here and block the Silver Quill Silencer. And it obviously gives us the opportunity to draw a Lightning Helix, though we have been through 2 already. Oh, interesting. Our opponent chose not to pump, so probably going to do something fairly big with their mana here. Yeah, Spellbinder doesn't hurt that much, like, bad, but we will just recast this again. And yeah, I'll just recast the Glimpse, I guess, and just get another Shark. Yeah, when I'm playtesting, we weren't playing any escape cards, but upon doing research and watching other people play different control lists, like having at least 1 escape card in this 75 feels like probably the right thing to do. Like, it's just situations like this where it's just really powerful just to be utilising your graveyard in some way. Up until now, the only way we were utilising our graveyard was with Searchlight Cantor, which I guess like, isn't really utilising it. It just cares about like having 7 cards in. But running Glimpse is an actual way to care about it. I don't think it really matters what we exile here. Memory lapse are okay, but we really need an answer to this knight, I think. So we do have 4 board wipes, so it's only a matter of time until we find it. But we are just going to protect our life total here, since Shark Typhoon can put out a chump blocker each turn. Gonna have to cycle here, but it's gonna put more cards in the graveyard for Glimpse, and yeah, sweet. Not gonna waste any time with that board wipe. Happy to do that. Opponent's in top deck mode now, and I think they need to top deck something relevant. Yeah. Oh, I mean, Castle One.Vs an okay one. I don't think it's quite as good as Shark Typhoon in this situation. But yeah, cycling these Censors, I think I was saying earlier that maybe Censor isn't the best card. Maybe it's a consideration that we shouldn't be playing anymore. But yeah, it works pretty well with Glimpse. Kind of like drawing like a card and a fifth, I guess. Which I guess that stacks up eventually. Okay, opponent's just holding priority there. Yeah, I guess we'll cycle now. Yeah, probably just pass the turn now. We'll take our hit from the Castle Ardenvale for one turn, and then we get to cycle Triome and Glimpse, and then maybe hit like a Brainstorm or something to be able to sack this Fable Passage. I think we're getting to the point of the game now where I'm happy to just not sack the Fable Passage, because we've got limited basics left in the list. It's probably correct to Glimpse there and just not take the 1 damage. But unless our opponent can answer Shark Typhoon, it's difficult to imagine a world which we don't just completely take over here. Especially now, since we know our opponent's going to redraw the same card again. Just going to see what we draw first, but pretty certain we're just going to memory lapse this just to make sure we know our opponent's drawing next turn. And to know that it's not a particularly relevant card. And get our extra 2/2 so we can start blocking these 1/1s. And I think probably our opponent's not far off concession here. I think there's probably like limited turns that you could answer the Shark Typhoon. But Narset next turn into grab whatever over 2 turns as well, get our 3/3, and we know our opponent's drawing the Silver Quill again, which isn't going to do much. They can name the card we get off of Narset, but at this point we can pay the free life, it's fine. So yeah, like I said, nothing to do with our Fable Passage. If we could cycle the Triome with fetching, then we might do, but gonna just hold on to it for now. And we're playing Narset first. But yeah, Glimpse has done some work here. Like, we got through some land drops because of that. Just a few dead draws. Created us some sharks. Yeah, in my testing, I've just been more and more convinced that you definitely just want to run at least one escape card. I'm not sure what the correct escape card is. It's probably like a few different ones you could run. But on this channel, we're trying to go hardcore control, and the best way to do that is by drawing as many cards as possible. So Glimpse is probably the right choice. But yeah, we're just going to take down Narset here. Have a look. Our opponent's taking a while. I think they should just activate the Castle Ardenvale, or be a bit faster on the priority game. Since we know our opponent's drawing, it's fine to get in there for 2 here. We'll hold back both sharks to block the 2 1/1s, so we guarantee get an extra activation of Narset, and she gets to stick around. It's quite possible, I guess, that our opponent just names Wrath of God here, just so they get the extra draw. But I don't think we're going to Wrath. Like, we've definitely got the commanding board presence at this point. Okay, opponent's going to scoop it out. They're just taking ages on priority. I'm kind of happy that they did that. But sweet, yeah, so like Orzhov, Hate Bears, like, I guess. Shark Typhoon was pretty good there, but our opponent just lost to Shark Typhoon, so you can imagine that they're bringing in an answer to it, and being in white, definitely going to have the answers for that. It's like Soul Guide Lantern's not something we want. Definitely Clarion could be. Like, definitely answers a lot of what our opponent's got, and if they're going to name a board wipe, they're probably going to name Wrath of God or Day of Judgment, which, pretty happy we made the changes between 2 and 2 for this video, because it definitely does come up. Anything else we want to change? Things we might want to take out, bring in. I think the rest of the list looks pretty fine. Like things like Absorb doesn't feel good against Thalia, which might be a reason we want to cut that, maybe in favor of like Shark Typhoons. But once we get to the point where we're ahead, we definitely do want them Absorbs, just to like guaranteed be able to stop anything. I think this is a matchup where I haven't really thought too much about the sideboard and what we want to bring in and out, so it might be something moving forward if the deck we're playing against becomes like a real meta deck. But at the moment, I like our configuration quite well, and maybe we'll see some new bits for game 2 that we can bring in some new cards. Okay, so game 2 against this Orzhov Hate Bears list, Taxes list, I guess. Like, this hand's alright. Like, 2 lands. Our lands are a little bit awkward because Castle Ardenvale is going to enter untapped, so maybe we need to play Castle turn 1 and then Shock turn 2, just so we have the opportunity to play Censor or Memory Lapse. But I think I'm probably more on for shocking Censor turn 1, cycle, and shocking Steam Vents turn 1, and then cycle the Censor. And we could always cast Glimpse, I guess. Might be a reason actually just to play Castle Ardenvale turn 1 and then just leave the Steam Vents untapped. Shock the Steam Vents in on turn 2, and then we get to either Censor, Memory Lapse, or Glimpse. So probably going to keep this actually and just go down that and play the Ardenvale turn 1. We could draw an untapped land that changes this play altogether, but just if we were just thinking about this 7, probably the way we want to go. I think this hand's pretty resilient against the Four.Vs. Maybe they take Day of Judgment. But it's quite likely that Day of Judgment's not going to be too relevant for a while. It's probably going to be a turn 5 play once our opponent gets down their turn 2 Thalia. So yeah, I certainly don't mind seeing a Four.Vs here. Yeah, we're just going to start with Ardenvale, I think. This could honestly be a list, like when I was deciding to put the Brainstorms in or not, you've obviously got to make room for Fable Passages, and we are only running 3 Fable Passages, but it does tax the mana a little bit, like actually a fair amount. Like we're not running any of the Boros, Shock, or Dual lands, so Castle Ardenvale definitely enters tapped a lot more than it normally would in the Jeskai lists I've played in the past, so something to consider whether you're playing the castles. Maybe you actually want to play the blue castle, just because while I think it's objectively like a little bit worse than the white one in these sort of control lists. Okay, opponent's name Brainstorm, that's fine. I'm going to Shock in here. Yeah, well, I think the blue one might be objectively worse than Castle Ardenvale. It's going to enter untapped a fair amount more than Ardenvale, just because our mana base is skewed quite heavily towards blue. Yeah. Okay, so opponent took the Censor, so we can't do anything here, but I think we are just going to have to slow our opponent down. Like maybe could have glimpsed instead, and then set up for a Memory Lapse on the following turn. I think Silver Quill's on what's on Brainstorm. Yeah, I'm not really too worried about that. I'm not itching to cast my Brainstorms just yet. Ooh, Blinkmoth. Yeah, pretty sweet land. I guess in like dual color decks like this, you can't really afford to run the Snow Land package. So Blinkmoth Nexus is probably the next thing down. Good alternative. Yeah, just take our 3 and be quite happy with it. And next turn's probably just going to be a Glimpse turn. Opponent will play Thalia, I guess, and then we'll hopefully survive just 1 hit, take our 5, maybe our 6 with the Blinkmoth, and then have to Day of Judgment. Could even like Glimpse now. Just because if we hit an untapped land, then we can guaranteed cast the Day of Judgment next turn. But I guess our opponent's probably like Thaliaing anyway. Shame we're a little bit constricted on blue. Been quite unfortunate to draw 2 of our 3 single white sources. Just because Brainstorm and Glimpse is, Glimpse and Censor, sorry, cycling them, and obviously Brainstorms. Quite taxing, but opponent's not got much happening, and they're not taxing us too much at the moment. Like, Thalia's going to put us off a turn, but it's not the end of the world. Because opponent doesn't know about the sensor, so there's every possibility here that opponent just casts his Thalia into our sensor. Which I don't know if we actually sense the Thalia. Like, probably do. Yeah, like, probably censor it here. It's probably better than just drawing a card. The cycle Shark Typhoon to make a 1/1. I guess we can block the Blink Moth. It's probably better to miss a land drop and just kill the Blink Moth, just because we do have to answer it at some point. Well, opponent almost missed that, I think. Yeah, we'll just kill Blink Moth here, take 3, fall to 8. And hopefully we find a land. Hopefully our opponent plays something that just dies the Day of Judgment, though. They're probably not going to. They've been playing around it quite well. It's the reason we have both. Yeah, this Brainstorm's actually hurting us a little bit more than I would like. Got a name Day of Judgment. And let us draw an untapped land. This is so good. This is the reason we ran them both. Joke's on you, opponent. Oh. Yeah, there's only an inclusion, a change we've made very recently. And yeah, well, you see it comes up, like... Definitely comes up, and our Brainstorms are now unlocked, and our Glimpses. I mean, there's no guarantee we're going to win this game, just because we're quite low on life, and our opponent's got Ardent Veil up now, but... Yeah. So... I guess we're just Narsetting here. Activate if our opponent... If it saves us 2 life, it saves us 2 life, that's fine. And then, like, a Lightning Helix just gets us back into the game, I think, here. Absorb's also okay. Really just need to hit our land drops, I think, here. So if our opponent doesn't choose to attack down the Narset, then I think that's okay as well. Could we get to Brainstorm? That might be a bit expensive. And then shuffle away with Narset. Yeah, we're like dangerously close to stabilizing here. Just got to worry about this Castle Ardent Veil, I think. Ooh! Not a card I expected to see. Cool, and name Day of Judgment here. Yeah. Tis a goodie. Okay, so what's the play? Like Brainstorm. Looking for Lightning Helix. Or land. Could just activate Narset, but the Brainstorm will clear the way, won't it? Okay, so we hit both of what we want. Day of Judgment's still going to be good once we Lightning Helix a Silver Quill, which I think we will be doing this turn. I think like Absorb and Glimpse can go at the moment. I guess... Yeah, I think with the Narset and the Brainstorm, we can keep them. We don't need Glimpse, and Absorb's probably like... I mean, Absorb's going to be good, but we need to answer this Ajani, I think, first, so... Let's just get rid of these two. I mean, we could always pick one up back now if we wanted to. No, we will just take another Lightning Helix, I think. Can we just Lightning Helix the Ajani here? Because if Ajani's going to put 2 power out, we'd go to 7, take 3, 4, 5, and just, yeah. I think we just Lightning Helix the Ajani, actually. Just answer it now before it puts 2 more power into puts more power into play, or it can tick down and get another creature. So I think I'm kind of down to just... We got a double blue, double white, like a single red source, but we don't really need more red. Guess we'll get like a red source just in case. No, a bit more starved of blue, I think, so... Yeah, we'll take out the Ajani, and obviously the life gain from Lightning Helix should just keep us alive here. Hopefully, I don't know. Our opponent definitely doesn't have any haste, but they might have some drain. And then, yeah, we'll just have to kill the Silver Quill Silencer before we decide to cast our Day of Judgment. A little bit worried about the Arden Veil, but hopefully the life gain of Helix is going to be enough. So, yeah, I think play here is the Lightning Helix, Thalia, and then Soul Seer, the Silver Quill, go to 5, then go to 4 because of Castle Arden Vale. And then next turn we get to, like, Brainstorm, Narset. So we'll just go like that. And if we get to a point where we start to stabilize, like, we can just counter their Arden Vale with our Arden Vale. It's not that much of an issue. Okay, our opponent made a mistake there, chose not to activate Arden Vale. Happy to just stay on 5 here, give us quite a few turns to be able to sort of get ourselves in a good position. But we should be on a hypothetical 4, really. Okay, yeah, with Narset in play, Glint Sleeve isn't that scary. And sweet, hopefully we are off to the races now. I guess let's Brainstorm first. Let's put 2 lands back. Do you want just Narset? Wanna probably do we want to shuffle first, or do we want to Narset? Like, are we gonna miss? That's the thing. I think we're just gonna shuffle because I don't want to miss on the Narset. And then we'll just Lightning Helix the Glint Sleeve, I think. And then, yeah, we should be just stabilized at that point. Should we take the Wrath of God just so we can answer Knight of the Evil Legion whenever it attacks? So yeah, we'll do it now to prevent them gaining the energy. And yeah, we haven't found a Teferi yet, so I'll speak the devil. But yeah, we're literally just finding a Teferi off of closing the game now, I think. Shark Typhoon was also really good. Probably, if you found a Shark Typhoon, I'd probably just spend the turn cycling it. Yeah, I'd take a Brainstorm. And yeah, we're sort of edging ourselves towards the end of the game now. I think it's going to be difficult for our opponent to recover. Yeah, we can even activate Castle now if we want to. If our opponent chose to go at Narset with a token, I'd probably Castle just to defend her. But yeah, sweet. Mopping up Orzhov hate taxes, I guess. Whatever you want to call it. But yeah, pretty sweet. Let's move on to the next game. Yeah, we're on the play, and I think we can keep this hand. Crucially, we're missing white mana, but we've got Brainstorm. We can cycle Sensor. So, pretty happy with a hand like this. Probably not going to shock turn 1. Otherwise, we're shocking turn 2 to play a Memory Lapse as well. Also, if our opponent's on like some sort of burn list, then I mean, it doesn't look like they're on burn from their sleeves. Maybe on burn from their sleeves and their avatar, but maybe like Dimir. Let's see, some good old Dimir control. We normally have a bit of an issue playing against Dimir, but hopefully we'll be alright. Could just censor this. We've got our next land drop set up. That's fine to censor. And then we just get to play our Narset next turn. And if it's Dimir control, like resolving a Narset is pretty sweet. Okay, maybe not Dimir then. Yeah, just taking a little bit of damage, but I think getting down Narset is entirely worth it. just need to make sure we hit our land drops next turn, so probably just going to Brainstorm and then activate Narset if our opponent gives us the opportunity. If not, then I guess we'll just have to Brainstorm anyway, because, yeah, don't want to miss our lands. Are we against the combo list? I think we might be. Fortunately, we have quite a bit of counter magic to be able to hold them at bay. I think we are. I think this is Tainted Pact, which probably not going to need Day of Judgment for, or Lightning Helix. If that is the case, it can probably just hold our counter magic back here. Yeah, it's obviously taken a bit of a leap of faith that this is going to be the case, but hopefully. Yeah, won't search this turn. We'll wait till we can search plus counterspell. There's every possibility that our opponent can go off. I think it's Orzhov turn 4 they can go off. Yeah, here you go. So we just try and stop it, yeah. Guess we play around like a sensor. Wait, is it not correct to actually counter the Tainted Pact? I think I might have just made a mistake there. I think it was correct to... They've got multiple ways to get it, I think, so it's not just over straight away, but if our opponent... I think they just got to let this go, haven't they? Oh, no. Okay, so it wouldn't have mattered then. They had a Pact of Negation. And I guess that Pact of Negation is a one-off, so... Yeah, we'll skip ahead. Sweet, so yeah, Tainted Pact. How do we want to tackle this? Probably like a Mystical Dispute and Dovin's Vetoes. But yeah, unfortunately, our opponent had the one of... the 1 mana Pact, which are very difficult to play around. I remember our Soulguard Lantern. I don't really know, like, I haven't really come prepared for Tainted Pact at all, but I don't have any real deck at the moment. Though I hate to say it. I don't know, like bringing Shark Typhoon, I guess. Like, just got kind of like some of our relevant cards. Maybe we want to keep them like Sunboard Wipes. I don't know. There's just like so limited ways to interact with Tainted Pact. It's not that I'm getting like, I don't know, just, yeah. Tainted Pact, I guess. Let's go. Okay, so on the plane, I think we're going to mulligan a one-lander. We can Cycle Sense and Brainstorm, but every possibility we just won't find what we need. And yeah, we definitely have to mulligan a one-lander that's just not got the cards that could potentially keep us from mulliganing. So yeah, not looking good against Tainted Pact. I don't know how I feel about this list. It's like, okay. Tainted Pact, that is like, I guess it's like a fun combo list, but it's like really, really difficult to interact with it outside of counter magic and hand hate. And there's every possibility the opponent just has the, like they just naturally have the combo in hand there. No way to tutor for it. One of in their list. Yeah, I think they might run like two Tainted Pacts or something. Yeah, I guess we have to keep this. Just going to put like Teferi and maybe just double Teferi on the bottom, since we'll be shuffling. So every opponent's going to take one of these off of us turn 1. So kind of need the second one as something to do. But yeah, last game our opponent had exactly the combo. What am I doing? Why am I putting land on bottom? Opponent had exactly the combo as well as a protection spell that costs 0 mana. Because had we have waited one more, well, had we have got to one more turn, then we would have had a double counter spell up, which we definitely, I think, would have done. Just get down our Searcher's Counter now, start working out a little bit of value for us. Okay, opponent's got their own search. Maybe like Shocking Hallowed Fountain would have been better, just so we could cycle the Triome. Yeah, it's probably better to do that, actually. Just thinking of predominantly filling the graveyard as fast as possible. I mean, our opponent could combo next turn, but like if they have the combo, they have the combo. I guess veto is pretty good insurance. Like, difficult for opponent to play for a veto. I think now we found the Narset, just happy to play out the land, just so we have our red source as well, in case we need it. Yeah, probably should have, like, obviously we didn't know we were drawing the Narset, but I guess, like, we shuffled as well, so wouldn't have mattered too much. But yeah, if our opponent can combo this time, fair enough. Yeah, I don't need that. Probably just going to sit back, just because there's every possibility that our opponent can combo. And we can at least cycle our Sensor, I guess. But I think it'll be difficult for our opponent to combo through 2 counter spells. I guess if they have the combo plus Pact again, then they get around it. And a land. Am I going insane? Yeah, we did bring in all of our vetoes, I was thinking. So yeah, we'll cycle Sensor here, and then flip Search as Canter. Opponent's just taking a second to decide, I guess. Yeah, Memory Lapse is a good one as well. Pretty much need to bin whatever we draw here, unless it's like super good. Like a veto, I guess we'll keep. There's every possibility that our opponent just has Fort Distortion, though. Like they're one of Fort Distortion. Yeah, we'll Graveyard land. Get a land anyway. And then, yeah, just pass the turn, I guess. Could cast another Narset, but I don't see the reason to when we've got stuff to do with our mana anyway. Instant speed. May as well leave up like as much interaction as possible. Okay, so opponent took a while to decide, but they decided to go for a Prismari command, and they're going to draw 2, discard 2, and finish off on Narset. So find a Memory Lapse here. Maybe our opponent's trying to bait it. I think we don't mind about our Narset going. It's a shame we can't like add another Narset into play. Yeah, I mean, if we Memory Lapse this, and there's every possibility, I think we're going to Memory Lapse. I think our opponent will put it into the bin with Search as Canter. It punishes us really hard if our opponent has the combo in hand plus a way to stop a counter spell. Okay, so opponent's just going to draw it, I guess. And they still get to flip their Search. So opponent running the red for, because I normally see just Dimir. It can't just be Prismari command that they're running red for. Okay, so opponent's going to do this now. Yeah, take a veto. Veto's pretty good insurance. Again, like, do we need to do anything? I mean, our opponent's pretty eager to finish off our Narset. So maybe we need to play another Narset. We've got Glimpse and Search for Scanter or Scanter the Sunken Ruin, so I think we'll just sit back. We are on the mold 5 as well, so we've done a good job, I think, of running our opponent out cards slowly. Okay, main phase activation. Maybe looking for the other half of their combo or something. Because yeah, opponent's leaving up interaction here. Because they could cast their vision. But I wanted to Teferi, but like at the same time, it's like I don't think we need a Teferi at the moment. With us Canter the Sunken Ruin, like we just don't need to be tapping down here. We just need to be hitting land drops. Could cast like Narset, maybe. Maybe it's correct to do that. The advice I normally follow is like don't counter the thing that's going to find their combo piece, counter the combo piece, but I don't know. I'll probably just let it go. Just Mystical Dispute, our opponent probably just let it go rather than casting their Mystical Dispute. I think outside of a Fort Distortion, we're in a pretty good situation. It's going to be difficult for our opponent to play through this many counters. I think we have to stop the Grim Tutor as well. Just because if they are running Fort Distortion, then they can go grab that. It's like Shark Typhoon's one of our better draws here. Yeah, I think we're just passing it back. Just trying to find our Shark Typhoons, I guess. Got to discard. It's probably like a Memory Lapse, maybe? We're just like drowning and counter spells at the moment. Don't really need that many more of them. Might be correct just to get rid of Narset or Teferi, but if we go into like a really big counter war, we might need one of them. So yeah, the worry here is that our opponent goes to get Fort Distortion, which is like definitely an issue. So yeah, I guess we'll go for this, and we still want to counter their Grim Tutor, so we'll target the Memory Lapse. I don't know if it benefits us or them. Like, I feel like I want to say it benefits us going into this counter war. Our opponent has enough mana to combo as well, and they don't know about the veto. They do know about the Mystical Dispute. But if they have a Pact in hand as well, then this could just be fine to let go if they've got the combo. Like, they don't know about the veto, obviously. But I mean, actually, they do know about the veto. Yeah, I mean, like, the duress is going to take, like, it's taking Teferi or Narset. Either one's sort of pretty bad. Like, I guess we have Searcher's Canter going as well. Yeah, we get to keep our Mystical Dispute this way, I guess. Our opponent can take Mystical Dispute if they want, but Narset or Teferi is both fine when we've got an Ascanter, so I think I'd rather just keep the Mystical Dispute. And if our opponent wants to take Mystical Dispute, then I guess that's fine as well. I hope that that benefits us. I guess we'll see. But yeah, now just back into the same situation. Get to keep activating ours, Can to the Sunken Ruin, Glimpse of Freedoming. It's going to be a long game. Sure about that. Just need to want to find our Shark Typhoons, I guess. Again, they could be going to get Fort Distortion, but we've got our Narset in play now, so if they've got it, I guess we just... they get it. Like, tis a shame, but not much we can really do. Probably get the veto. Like, if our opponent's got Fort Distortion, okay. No, not much we can do. Put Lightning Helix back and guess just a land is fine. Yeah, just really need to find Shark Typhoon here, I think. Opponent's taken out a lot of their removal, I'd imagine. Solve the equation. Yeah, just a ton of tutors. Yeah, they've got like Blood Cheese first, but you got to imagine they've taken out most of their removal. Yeah. Guess we're just going to get rid of Censor here. Which is probably the worst of our counter spells. I guess if our opponent goes for the Croxer, I think we will go for the Absorb here, and we will try and fight over this. And if our opponent wants to tap down and allow our Teferi to resolve, I think that's okay. Because I don't know how favoured we are when the game goes like super long. Because opponent's going to find their combo pieces and like protection for their combo pieces eventually. So getting down to Teferi might just be pretty good here. So we can start like pressuring our opponent. We get a little bit more card advantage, but that's not the real issue. But we get to start ticking towards his ultimate slowly. Which obviously if we hit his ultimate and our opponent isn't in imminent combo range, then we'll be okay. Opponent went through quite a few of their counter spells as well. They still have Mystical Dispute. Okay, so we found both our Shark Typhoons at the same time. I think we may have brought in the other ones, but... And if we want to, we get to double Azcanta as well. I think we'll shock in. Want to double Azcanta maybe? Don't think it's necessary. We'll just hold up our interaction, I think. Our opponent's got enough, like, I think it may be even correct to not counter, to counter their first Grim Tutor. Maybe we should have just let that go. But it's become apparent that our opponent just has so many tutors in the list that probably not correct to counter them. So we could let Croxer go. What are we discarding? Because we could just make a 6/6 Shark, and then we just start to get pressuring our opponent that way, and then tuck the Croxer with Teferi, and then we're left with Azcanta and double Counterspell, and then I guess we just discard whatever we draw off of Shark Typhoon. But I guess we have to Shark Typhoon now. I think I like just making a 6/6 Shark. Yeah, we'll make the 6/6 Shark now, and I guess just discard whatever we draw. And just hope that our opponent... Yeah, Brainstorm's fine to discard. Because the only reason we'd be brainstorming is for stuff we've already got in hand. So yeah, I think I'm happy just to tuck the Croxer now. And if our opponent wants to activate their Azcanta, obviously, then that's gone. But we get to pressure our opponent this way now. And yeah, we'll sit back with our 2 counter spells and our Azcanta up. Okay, so we want to let this resolve, don't we? And then we want to stop the Pact. So I guess we'll go for the memory lapse first. Because if Fastest Oracle's on the field, then they're not going to be able to combo as easy with that. But yeah, I'd like to see them get past a Dovin's Veto, but we'll see. We have got an Azcanta activation as well. Okay, so we did get the Pact. So let's see if our opponent... Oh, another Pact, I guess. Okay, so they found both their Pacts. That's what they were working towards. Sometimes it just works out. We'll see. Thank you. I mean, it's not like they didn't have a few strokes of luck as well. But yeah, sometimes it works out. I don't think we want to change anything. I think like we did want Shark Typhoon there, so we'll probably cut the Lightning Helix, and we'll leave in the Soul Seer just because we've seen Croxer as well. So we'll keep that in. But yeah, this is just a list where we're hoping to, I guess, beat them before they beat us. Chandra might be okay because our opponent's got a load of counter spells, but like we saw there, we don't really want to be tapping down because our opponent could just combo on any turn. Okay, so our opponent decided to scoop it up and didn't want to play the final game of Pact. So yeah, I guess we ended up beating it. I'm not sure how we would have done. Like, we had a hand there. I don't know if you can see it through the screen. Single mountain, so we would have been mulliganing that hand. But yeah, like iffy matchup. I'm not sure how we do overall against Pact. Having like things like vetoes obviously does give us somewhat control over it, but my opinion of Pact anyway is just like it's really difficult to interact with, and I don't have that much fun playing against it. It was fun at first to play, but I think now it's starting to pop up semi-consistently, and for me, I don't know, I don't enjoy playing against it. But yeah, let's move on to the next game. You'd think from this hand that we were playing Azorius, but no, definitely playing some Jeskai, and I think we are going to keep this just because this Fable Passage can go find a red source. Pretty much everything sorted here, and just like cycle this Glimpse turn 2 if you want to. Ooh, Selesnya. Maybe there's an extra colour in here, but yeah, Selesnya, like, got like a hate bears sort of list. I guess for like Collected Company is the main thing I find myself going up against. Looks like it is that list as well. Actually quite enjoy playing against this. Okay, so how do we want to do this? Probably turn 2 hold up Sensor, Glimpse, and then turn 3 play Triome, and then turn 4 wrap the board. Opponents obviously, it looks like we're inexorious, so they're going to be prepared for the board wipe. I guess worst case scenario is our opponent does nothing. Yeah, we'll censor your indestructible threat opponent. Yeah, it does nothing and then just Collected Company. Well, I guess that's an answer to their indestructibleness. Yeah, you can imagine our opponent just like does nothing and just Collected Companies in our end step. Just after we wipe the board. Because if our opponent just passes here, I'm sort of incentivized just to pass the turn back again and just hold up the Soul Seer for the Luminarch Aspirant. And if our opponent goes for Collected Company, then we will censor it. So yeah, we're going Soul Seer or we're going Censor. Yeah, I don't really like tapping down here because if we raff the board and our opponent Collected Companies into something big, then it's rather disappointing. And if our opponent does nothing, if they go for the Collected Company, we'll censor it. If they do nothing past the turn, trying to play around a counter spell, in response to the Luminarch Aspirant trigger, we'll Soul Seer the Luminarch Aspirant. And then they're in a position then where they have to use their Collected Company. We'll just play this tapped, I guess. There isn't any reason to not just save ourselves some life. Because our opponent did nothing with turn 4, so I kind of believe that they've got it. And if our opponent wants to collect a company now to play around a counter spell, then obviously we get to untap Wrath, so that feels pretty good as well. And this way, I guess we get to... I guess we haven't really got enough in the graveyard. 2, yeah, so we can't Glimpse and Censor. If opponent has a land, it makes our situation a little bit worse. Okay, Scavenging Ooze not bad. Live with a Scavenging Ooze. Makes our Glimpse a little bit worse, but... Could just 1-for-1 trade for this Ooze. I mean, it is going to be a problem. So far, what is it? It's a 4-4. Yeah, I think I just don't mind 1-for-1 trading here. It's going to be a while before our Shark Typhoon can compete with it. They just get to eat our Glimpse here and something else from our graveyard, I guess. Whatever they're most scared of, Soulseer. And we'll hold the Fable Passage just in case we need a shuffle effect. Okay, so opponent gets to play around Censor now. I think I'm probably just going to cycle the Censor here. I do enjoy playing against this list though, just sort of a mid-range list. We got to play around things like Collected Company. This is non-basic lands enter tapped, yeah, so we do have to wipe the board first. Oh, no, 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 opponent. Not on your Nelly. Let's put that back. And yeah, just untap Teferi, and then we've got Shark Typhoon for next turn. We get to get down an Azcanta, and the Azcanta gets the flip next turn pretty much, so yeah, feeling good about our position. We also have two board wipes left, so I think if for some reason we had 3. So your opponent gets here a bit. I don't know if we're casting the Shark Typhoon or just cycling it. Guess if our opponent's going to exile it, then we'll need to manually cast it. Nope. Oh, looks like Search Azcanta might not flip here. Depends how opponent wants to play it. You think let's resolve? I think you exile 1 card, don't you? No? Okay. So we're going to graveyard this and not let our opponent have the opportunity then. I think they should have maybe exiled something there. So if we want, we can tuck the Lovestruck Beast and then guarantee that Shark Typhoon will be able to eat the Scavenging Ooze, because what our opponent can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7 power, they can make it, and we can make it a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, only a 6 power actually. Yeah. Okay, so that's not really an option. I guess we're going for double Azcanta activation, because we can activate Azcanta and still find a board wipe. We'll activate Azcanta once first and see what we find. Memory Lapse, not the best. I think I like just tick up. It can survive the hit from the Lovestruck Beast, and we can just cycle the Shark Typhoon just to chump block for a turn if we want to. Okay. Strange opponent's doing this now, I guess. I'll maybe be playing around Lightning Helix. But I think you probably do that in response to, well, I guess maybe in case we hit a board wipe? I'm not sure. Yeah, since we have Azcanta, we'll probably just play this out. We'll see how our opponent attacks before we decide what we want to do. No. Yeah, probably just throwing the Shark Typhoon in the way here. Feels okay. So opponent's doing all of this before we go to blocks. I guess this will be the 6th, so we'll just do this now. Guess we only need to make a 1/1. I think this is all before blocks. Yeah. Little sword down here. Still on declare attacks. Opponents should maybe wait till we enter blocks. I don't know if it's relevant for them. Yeah, unfortunately, opponent doesn't have the 1/1 to attack. Let's activate as counter. Yeah, let's just chuck Scavenging Ooze, I guess. Like we have memory lapse. Don't really want this ooze just taken out of Teferi. So opponent might be able to find a Llanowar Elves if they're running it off of this Collector Company when they draw it, and then they get to take down the Teferi. But we still have Azcanta, and we must be getting pretty close by now to finding a board wipe. Yeah, so opponent's going to get to go here. So I think going to see if we can find a Lightning Helix just to keep Teferi alive. So put 2 back. So no Lightning Helix. Guess we can actually just... We're going to lose Teferi. We'll pay 3 mana for a Brainstorm, I guess. And we'll just go like this. And then we'll protect the Narset. And put Narset like that. And then they'll get Brainstorm. But we'll pay 3 mana for a Brainstorm, that's fine. Then yeah, we lose our Teferi, but I'd like to think between Narset and Azcanta activation we'll be able to find something. Yeah, let's Brainstorm first. Shame. We'll put 2 lands back. So we can make a 3/3 Shark. Not really relevant. Could just make a 2/2 Shark and just play Soulguide Lantern. This may as well. Alternative, I guess, is like maybe just activate Azcanta and yeah, just pass the turn, activate Azcanta, and just play the Shark Typhoon out. In which case, I guess we can play out the Soulguide Lantern. Doesn't really matter. And we'd only be cycling Shark Typhoon for 1 anyway. We'll take the Ronus just in case our opponent finds another Scavenging Ooze. Oh, nice. With Narset, kind of shuts down the Great Henge, but our opponent's probably going to send at least the Lovestruck Beast and the... Oh no, okay, don't need to send anything now. Okay, so gets a counter but doesn't draw. Oh no, the Great Henge is going to go off second. My apologies. So yeah, so gotta find our board wipe at this point. Opponent doesn't want to trade the Elite Spellbinder. Makes sense. Okay, they are just going to go for it. Fair enough. I think we're still going to hold on to Shark Typhoon since our play here is to try and find a board wipe. Okay, opponent just wants to gain the life now. Yeah, Narset alongside board wipe is pretty good. If we can find it, obviously. Okay, so we have Canals Canter, Narset, and board wipe, so... Wow. Come on, top 4. Let's see, a Wrath. Day of Judgment's great. Then yeah, going to be quite good at shutting down the Great Henge now. And how many cards? 27? Yeah, I still think we'll start playing out these lands. We can cycle our Soul Guide Lantern this turn if we want to. But outside of a Teferi Tuck, there's not many ways we can answer the Great Henge. Not running the Prismari command. Yeah, it's imperative that Narset stays alive here. Yeah, Day of Judgment's great again. Last board wipe, but I think it's fine since we've got Memory Lapse and that up. Just pass the turn, and hopefully we can start to take over now with Castle Ardenvale. It's only going to take our opponent to brick for a turn or two. Yeah, and then we know our opponent's drawing it again next time. And then if we find an Absorb or something here, might be a bit of a long shot, but we get to cast Shark Typhoon and then start going off with that, hopefully. And then we'll cycle the Sensor here as well. Yeah, so Absorbs lock that away for next turn. Get to cycle Sensor. And then we cast the Shark Typhoon and just absorb our opponent's play. And then we get to like Lightning Helix in the end step if we want to. Make a 3/3, burn our opponent for free. And yeah, hopefully go from there. So I think like Aether Gust is something we want to see here. Opponent does have a lot of white threats, but they also have a ton of green. And it's just an answer to the Great Henge as well once we wipe the board, which is quite good. I don't think we want to bring in Heliod's Intervention just for the Great Henge. It doesn't seem right. Authority doesn't seem too good. Like Shark Typhoon seems okay, and Clarion seems okay. You can cut Soul Guide Lantern. Search is worse in the face of Skyclave Apparition, but I still think it's a good card. Shark Typhoon still feels good here. I don't imagine our opponent's going to have too many ways to answer it. I'm just cutting like Sensors. Like Trim on Sensors. Because we're bringing in more 2-mana interaction anyway. And like maybe we want a Clarion as well, but our opponent's stuff does get pretty big. Like it does hit a lot of what our opponent's got going on. But it only takes a Luminarch Aspirin. I guess actually like could probably make one cut for the Clarion. It's probably worth it. Yeah, just trim another Sensor. Okay, so our opponent is on the mulligan, and I think we've got quite a reasonable hand. I'd really like not to have 2 Brainstorms about a Shuffle effect, but I still think it's good enough to keep. So our opponent's mulliganing to 5. Jeskai Control at the moment has been doing a really good job. Even in the matchups where we lose or don't do particularly too well because of misplays, it always feels like there's maybe something we could have done, or we weren't actually that far off. I think there's like not many matchups at the moment in Historic that I feel like we don't have like a real good chance of taking them down. Which is always good from a control list. It's not something you often feel like. Sometimes there are matchups where you just feel it's pretty hopeless. She's got such a wealth of answers to what our opponent's got going on. And, really, really good sources of card advantage. Okay, just go for that Llanowar Elves. Yeah, just set up for the Memory Lapse or Glimpse here. If opponent Lovestruck Beasts, are we stopping it? Memory Lapse it and our opponent gets an extra 1/1. Since we're going to have Absorb next turn, I think it's fine maybe. And just take 2 this time. Okay, so opponent's missing land drops as well. They did mulligan down. Okay, so that makes me feel really good. If our opponent just aspirants this turn, then yeah, we just pass the turn, untap Wrap, and that's got to be... Even this way, yeah. The straw that broke the camel's back here. Not going to be good for our opponent. Oh. Yeah, I know what I'm doing there. And the opponent's stuck on 2 lands. If they find an extra land, then I guess you can play it. Okay, so opponent did find the 3rd land. I think just stopping this is fine. Just takes 3 power out of play, negates the hit from the Thalia this turn. And opponent's left with an aspirant and 1 unknown card. Yeah, been caught with so many brainstorms in hand, not good. Not much we can hit here. I guess we can hit, we left 1 sensor in. We actually get to protect cards with brainstorm though, don't we? I guess we can just memory lapse here and then just untap Teferi. Teferi and brainstorm, I guess. And we'll draw the Teferi and then just memory lapse the Elite Spellbinder. Then we'll untap, play Teferi. We just tuck in Thalia. That's fine. Don't know if it's right just to tick up and get a card, but we know our opponent's not drawing a land. We know they're drawing Spellbinder, and it's not really that taxing to put 2 mana onto a Brainstorm at Aether Gust at this point in the game. Yeah, so a good chance we lose our Teferi here, but we would have lost our Teferi either way. Because Teferi would have gone up to 5, Thalia would have hit it down, then Elite Spellbinder, and Thalia would have finished him off. Would just be a card less down. We get to draw 3 here, though, to see if we can find a Lightning Helix or some answer to this Elite Spellbinder. Yeah, we found one. Let's put Brainstorm and land back, I guess. We'll just draw the Brainstorm again. And then, yeah, Memory Lapse for Thalia is just going to be, I think, maybe a little bit too much. Kind of makes me think, though, I don't think Aether Gust is something we necessarily want here. I guess we can Glimpse now. Yeah, Aether Gust doesn't feel like... There's definitely some good targets that we could hit. But a lot of our opponent's threats, especially in this matchup, have been white, so not been particularly relevant. But yeah, just locking our opponent here is just going to be more than enough, I think. Opponent's fighting the good fight, though. I really do like it. Then yeah, we're just brainstorming here, and then Fable Passage away what we don't want, and then Glimpse. We can put 2 lands back. And I guess we can Fable Passage do all of this now, so we don't have to get the cost reduction, and then we get to Lightning Helix. It's just all gravy at this point. Difficult to really go wrong as long as we make sure we don't die to a collected company. I think we'll be okay. Yeah, it's like opponent fair enough for fighting a good fight, but mulligan to 5 is not good. Okay, so on to game 4 with some Jeskai Control. And it's probably going to be the last one just because time's been taking a while today. And what do we think of this hand? So we are on the draw, and Censor and Absorb obviously going to be far too slow, I think, if our opponent goes under them. So I'm probably going to mulligan for a little bit more proactive hand. And yeah, this looks really good. Let's put this mountain on the bottom, I guess. And yeah, keep it like that. It was game 2, maybe. Well, I guess if we have Soul Guide Lantern in after game 2, then we know it's relevant. But probably always keep the Soul Guide Lantern under most circumstances, just because you don't know how good it is going to be. And the reason it is in the main is because it's good against so many different lists. But that being said, I don't think we've actually seen any lists today that we've been really happy to have our Soul Guide Lantern in. It looks like we might be against Gruul to finish it up. Yeah, against Gruul. Day of Judgment's a good one. This hand's pretty good against Gruul. Just need to make sure we find our 4th land to cast this Judgment on time. I think if Regeneration becomes relevant, then obviously we're just playing Wrath of God, but outside of that, probably not. It's just another creature that dies to Day of Judgment. Maybe we just want to kill the Pelt Collector here just to save a little bit of life. I guess we're taking a bit. Maybe it's correct to like just take out the Mammoth. Because we're taking, what, 5/6 next turn now. Just play Soul Guide Lantern and cycle it, I guess. Could shock to make sure we can hold up Memory Lapse, because if our opponent goes for the Ember Cleave, probably just won't spend the life to Lantern here. Just hold up Memory Lapse or Lightning Helix. Because I think it's quite possible our opponent goes land, attack both, Ember Cleave onto the Mammoth. In which case we definitely want a Memory Lapse, untap Day of Judgment. So yeah, take a bit of a beating here, but we get to just untap Judgment. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. So you got to imagine our opponent believes that the board wipe is coming, but why do you not attack the Llanowar Elves there? I am not sure. Oh, opponent, I'm sorry. Yeah, good game. Yeah. You just fill out your hand and then you top deck like, oh my god, it just gets worse and worse. You got to feel really bad for them at that point. I think they had a chance before we top decked the second Wrath. Because like what we probably Lightning Helix the Scavenging Ooze. Opponent gave us a good game but doesn't want to concede. Very sportsmanship. You probably have to Lightning Helix the Scavenging Ooze. Okay, so I want to keep a land. Get rid of Soul Guide Lantern and a land, I guess. It's fine. Yeah, and then we take a bit of damage, but like we said, our next few draws haven't exactly been poor, so. Yeah, I think it is quite important that we do win this game 1 against Gruul, just because it's quite relevant who goes on the play and draw. Yeah, I think just slowing our opponent, gonna have to draw that again next turn is fine. Yep. Yeah, Memory Lapse so good. Like, there's never been a position really I don't enjoy casting a Memory Lapse. Obviously there are, but yeah, don't just love it. But yeah, moving on. So Glimpse of Freedom I don't think we need, just because like don't really need the card advantage in this matchup. And I think on the draw, sorry, we don't need Absorb. It's a little bit slow, I think. We definitely want all of our board wipes. Like Searcher's Canto could be a like cut, maybe. Censor doesn't feel that great. The only other thing I can consider bringing in really is Shark Typhoon. Like, an Absorb's always the card that I'm not happy to cut. Absorb to me feels like something you most of the time should be in just because of everything it does, like securing the late game for you. I might just trim a Censor. Providing we can get to turn 4, this hand's going to be really good. And hopefully Brainstorm's going to find us some extra action, because we're not really relying on finding lands. Though lands would be good, but just any sort of interaction would be great. So I think we're just going to play his Triome turn 1. We'll see what we draw first, but we'll play a Triome and then do Brainstorm turn 2 maybe. We'll see how fast our opponent is. If they go double like... I'm going to Brainstorm now in case we hit like a Sensor or Memory Lapse. Because we've got all of our colours in hand just naturally. Yeah, if our opponent goes double like or triple Burning Tree Emissary here into something, I don't know, pump the Pelt Collector further. Volcanic Brawler, I guess, is one of the... Yeah, Stomp's not the worst thing in the world. Like, definitely like opponents off to one of their faster starts. So we are drawing all of these anyway. We'll just get down our Azorius colours next turn. Yeah, we'll go for the Memory Lapse, then we'll play the Triome on the next turn. And then I guess we're just wrapping the board. But I'm kind of happy just to Memory Lapse even a creature here that's going to die to the Day of Judgment, just to buy us a little bit of life. Because I think what we're trying to do now, especially on the draw, is just buy yourself as much time as possible, even if it isn't the most efficient play to make. Like, opponent's going to get to Stomp here, but if we allow this to resolve, we're taking 5, and then on the next turn we're taking 5 plus 4, so 9 plus 5 is, what, 14? So that leaves us dead to pretty much a lot of stuff that opponent's got. So I think it's better just to Memory Lapse here. If our opponent wants to untap, spend the time to shock us, and then play it, okay, it's really mana efficient for our opponent to do that. But it just buys us the crucial time we need. Equally, if our opponent wants to play the Bone Crusher Giant out here, we save 5 damage that way. So if the Pelt Collector still grows, but it didn't grow on the last turn, and they're not actually hitting us with the Stomp side, with the Bone Crusher Giant side. Okay, so opponent just going to play around the Wrath, which I think is probably right to do. Yeah, play around the Wrath and then end step Stomp us. We are forced to Wrath here. It's pretty much written in stone. We need to turn 4 board wipe. Yeah, opponent stomps. Assume they untap. Just play their Bone Crusher Giant. Makes sense. Maybe Pelt Collector into Bone Crusher Giant if they've got one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, even better. So this is gonna definitely be tough for us. We're gonna need to find a board wipe off of this Brainstorm. Yeah, we don't need Teferi and we don't need one of these lands, so we'll put them away. We're still like, we're dead to a haste for it, but it's one of the reasons I do like keeping them absorbs in. Because next turn, providing we're not just dead, even though the Ramanap Ruins is a real thing as well, we have to Wrath plus Memory Lapse, and then we get to untap Teferi, and we need to constantly chain answer into answer now to even have a chance of surviving. Yeah, so I think we got to Wrath this away. And then Memory Lapse / Lightning Helix, whatever our opponent's got. So we can Lightning Helix this. We'll go down to 1 and then go back up to 4. And then we can combine that with Teferi if we want. Sitting on 4, we're dead to what? Questing Beast? But our opponent would have played Questing Beast last turn, so if they top deck Questing Beast. We're dead to a Questing Beast either way. We'll Wrath of God here. If they got a Gruul Spellbreaker, okay, fair enough. We'll have to Memory Lapse it and find something, I guess, like Castle Ardenvale. But yeah, these Ramanap Ruins are real. I think just Lightning Helixing here is fine. Just hit our opponent just to gain a bit of life. Like, not the most efficient play ever, but we're about to start taking over Teferi, hopefully. And I have a feeling that every bit of mana here is going to be extremely relevant. Especially since our opponent's about to put us to 4. They can untap, put us to 2. Providing they have a land. Land was great as well. Gives us the option to do both if we want to. But yeah, these Ramunap Ruins are going to be killers here. Need a Lightning Helix since we took out our Absorbs. Yeah, I don't really want to fall to 1 here. So I guess we force our opponent to draw it. And then if they want to play it again next turn, then we can, after attacks they've chosen to exert, we can then make our token with Castle Ardenvale to just chump block it if we want to. Don't even know if we have a basic left. We have one plains left. So Fin in the deck's not really a thing. Probably hold it just in case we draw a Brainstorm. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So we can activate Castle Ardenvale and then activate it again, but probably best not to do that. Because we'd rather hold up the Aether Gust, I think. Tough though, yeah, tough, but we're just doing what we can to survive here. So yeah, we'll wait for our opponent to attack. They'll obviously go for us. So they've chosen not to exert. We will then make our token. Just need a few more turns for Teferi. Yeah, essentially on 2 now. Do we tuck here? Probably not. Just tick up, because now we can activate Castle Ardenvale twice, I think, and yeah, how much mana? 5 mana. God, math is hard. Okay, so we're not quite at the point where we can activate Castle Ardenvale twice and cast Aether Gust, so we're probably just in the same position we're in again this turn. We'll just play this tapped, untap it to Teferi, hold up our Aether Gust, and then we can activate Castle Ardenvale twice next turn. Just don't really want to let this Gust down at the same time. And if we activate a token on our turn, and then our opponent could always play like a Questing Beast, as well as exert the On-Crop Crasher, and then you're just dead. But if our opponent's got 2 damage, say a Stomp in hand or something, then there's every possibility they just attack here. We do our usual jazz. They end step Ramunap Ruins, untap, try and stomp us. Teferi's getting really close to ultimate, which is, I guess, good. Okay, so activate Castle. Ember Cleave, yeah, got a... This is why we held up our bits and bobs. I mean, could just target the On-Crop Crasher, actually. And then just tuck the Ember Cleave with the Teferi. This buys us an extra turn of activating Castle. Doubt our opponent has a land. 2 mana haster. I don't think they run too many of them anymore. We're just drawing a few too many lands, I think, here at the moment. Or, yeah, Narset feels good. Hopefully Narset's going to be enough. Love to take a second Narset, but I think we're just going to take Memory Lapse as just a little bit of insurance here. So yeah, we can activate Castle. And I think we will attack with 1. And then, okay, I think we're okay now. We might be just about to get to the other side of this since Teferi's in ultimate range now. Yeah, that's fine. We know our opponent's drawing their next turn. We know we're activating Teferi here. We'll tick down an set first. Hopefully we can just find out like a Brainstorm here. Yeah, Brainstorm's great. Just ultimate Teferi. Just draw our 3 cards. I think that's the first time I've ultimated a Teferi and then cast Brainstorm. But yeah, we were on the edge of death for like a large proportion of that match. But I think like steady plays, managed to play around stuff that our opponent had. And yeah, sweet, managed to get there. Like you can hear the excitement in my voice. But yeah, let's move on to the wrap up. Howdy guys, cheers for making it to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching some more Jeskai Control. I did say earlier, we've been playing quite a lot of Jeskai on the channel recently, but it is so much fun. I feel like between the answers, I say it all the time, between like the counter spells, the lightning helix, the brainstorm, just the efficient cards that we're running in this, it just seems to be my favourite control list at the moment in this set that we're playing through Strixhaven. It's just been really fun. The Mystical Archive cards are great. And going on to the first critique of the deck, like the Day of Judgment, Wrath of God thing actually came up. It was really relevant today. Normally, just because of wild cards and things like that, I'm just running my 4 Wrath of Gods. But I decided to invest in them just because I thought, got to do it at some point. This is going to be a thing that's happening for a while. And yeah, it may not come up all the time, and it's actually quite rare. But until regeneration becomes a thing, you run your 2-2 split. Like, why would you not run your 2-2 split? It just makes complete sense. And yeah, we actually saw some Silver Quill Silencers. It actually came up that people were trying to hate Wrath of God, and we actually had the Day of Judgment in hand, or maybe it was vice versa, but you get my point. Other cards, yeah, Soul Guide Lantern felt really good as well. In the situations, I think in the decks we played against today, we didn't really need Soul Guide Lantern. It ended up being pretty much a dead card, but unlike Rest in Peace and unlike Grafdigger's Cage, Soul Guide Lantern can just be cycled. Like, you just replace it for 2 mana, essentially. It's just a new card, which is like a Glimpse of Freedom, which we'll go on to in a sec. Which is just, yeah, really good. That being said, during testing and today, I think we haven't actually played against a deck that Soul Guide Lantern really hit on that hard. I mean, we had the Tainted Pact list that run Croxer, but outside of that, there really wasn't that much. That being said, I think there is Scavenging Oozes still going about, so Soul Guide Lantern works a little bit against them, but I think against Gruul and that, you'd probably rather just have the extra card. But Soul Guide Lantern feels much better than Rest in Peace, I think, at the moment, and Grafdigger's Cage. And with so many Prismari commands going around, if you're playing against a deck that cares about their graveyard, which is running red, which I think, like, most decks are running away to answer artifacts in red. Either you're going against like Luris, Rakto, Pyromancer lists. You don't really care about the Dimir list. We're not really bothered about Graveyard Hate in that matchup. Yeah, just any sort of graveyard list. They all are like Phoenix. They all seem to be running red at the moment, which if you're running Grafdigger's Cage, they can just sit not really doing anything in their graveyard, and then they can answer the Grafdigger's Cage and then go off. At least if someone attempts to answer the Soul Guide Lantern, you can hit the nuke button and just like exile their graveyard. So while it's not like a permanent answer to things that your opponent's up to, it's normally enough to slow them down. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Soul Guide Lantern, actually to the point where I might just replace the Rest in Pieces in the board just with more Soul Guide Lanterns. Not sure, because like even in the matchups where you want to bring in your Graveyard Hate, the Graveyard Hate isn't always relevant. The graveyard lists are normally built in such a way where if you bring in your Graveyard Hate, it just temporarily slows them down. So you don't always need like double, triple Rest in Peace, or sometimes you just don't need a Graveyard Hate spell at all. So yeah, it might be a suggestion just to keep like Soul Guide Lanterns in the board. Another card we decided to include, so like I said, I did a bit of research and just wanted to see how it performed, but just having like a one-of escape card in the deck. And yeah, why I was not doing this before is just insane to me. Like, you need to be utilizing your graveyard in some way, and Glimpse of Freedom I feel is a really, really excellent way to doing that. If you're running any sort of blue control list at the moment, maybe you're just playing Azorius, I would 100% suggest putting in just a escape card. Even if you put it just in the 75, you put it in your board for matchups where you might want a little bit more card advantage. But just utilizing your graveyard, just like, it's a little bit expensive to do, but the effect is just so good. Like later on in the game, like I think there was a game in there, I can't remember the matchup, that Glimpse of Freedom pretty much just pulled us out of drawing a few too many lands. And when you're running the Brainstorm Fable Passage combo as well, you're filling your graveyard a lot easier, and with Search for Cantor as well, so you're going to be able to cast this for its escape cost a lot more often than not. That being said, so how do we feel about the Brainstorm Fable Passage combo? Because I'm normally reluctant to put this combo in 3 color lists just because I feel like the mana's so inconsistent as it is. But that being said, like, we didn't really struggle today at all with our mana. It's always going to happen. Sometimes you're going to struggle with your mana regardless, even if you're in 2 color lists. But yeah, maybe it was a stroke of luck, or maybe something happened today. I don't know. We dropped to 26 lands, and we're not running any of the Boros, Sacred Foundry, and Cliff Top Retreat lands, because as you can see from the mana here, we're running 24 blue, 13 white, and 5 red. So we're really just splashing that red. So we really just need our Azorius lands most of the time. Because blue is our main colour, we've decided to go for the Sulphur Falls and Steam Vents as well. But we made sure we had the basic mountain so we can get it off the Fable Passage if we need to, so we're not stuck not being able to cast our Lightning Helixes and Soulseer. So Soulseer as well was a really impressive card. I saw a few other people running this and I thought, like, I'll give it a try and see how it goes. And yeah, it was fine. Ronus is a thing. There's other indestructible threats. And 3 mana, 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker is pretty good, actually. Like, if you're in the mirror match against Azorius or something, they play their Teferi on turn 5. Soulseer can at least kill that. Can answer Narset, Nissas, things like that. So yeah, was pretty happy with Soulseer. I don't know if I would play it moving forward, but yeah, pretty good. I'm also quite happy with the decision to drop the number of absorbs that we're running. I felt like absorb, like 3 mana counter target spell and then do X, has always been a comfort blanket for me. I've always felt pretty comfortable knowing that I've got my 4 counter spells in my list and I can stop pretty much whatever my opponent does towards the middle to late game as long as I'm ahead. But yeah, just with Memory Lapse and Censor, I just felt like I really didn't need this. And it's not like we're lacking on counter spells, because we are bringing in more in the board. More often than not, bringing in Aether Gust, which is kind of like a counter spell, Mystical Dispute, or Dovin's Veto. So we are bringing in our fair share of counter spells most of the time after boarding. And most of the time, actually, in the matchups where you're not bringing in Veto, Aether Gust, or Mystical Dispute, you don't really want your absorbs anyway. Like, on the draw, they just feel too slow. And on the play, they are good just when you sort of advance and you're a bit ahead of your opponent. Other cards on the list, we added Censor in, which was something different. We haven't been playing Censor in a while just because there's so many good cards to play. And yeah, it was like, okay, it works really well with like Glimpse of Freedom, and it works really well with Search Cantor. I don't know if I'd play it going forward, but I don't know what you're replacing it with. I don't know if you're cutting the Censors and maybe playing I don't know, Baffling End or something, just play to the board a little bit more, maybe go back up to the 3rd Absorb, maybe go up to like Upper Soulseer or something like that, though you probably don't want to go too heavy on the Soulseer, as good as a one-off, or maybe just go up like more Graveyard Hate if that becomes a meta thing. So I think probably the weakest card in the list was Censor overall. And going on to another card, Teferi as well, like, I don't know if you want the 4th copy of Teferi, and I don't know where you sit on the Shark Typhoon, so I decided Shark Typhoon has been a comfort card along with Absorb for me. So I decided to keep the other 2 in the board, and there were actually games where we wanted the 2 other Shark Typhoons, so we did bring them in. So I do feel like having the 4 in the 75 is probably correct, but I don't know if you actually need them in the main, because they are, you definitely want some number of them, but there are definitely matchups where they are surprisingly worse than others. And I found myself today actually casting them more often than not. I think we only cast them once, but still more often than not. Yeah, so that was the list overall. That's sort of my evaluation on it. The thing I'm sort of sitting on is, do we need Censors? Is Soul Guide Lantern relevant at the moment? And should we be running the 4th Teferi? Because I've heard suggestions of, yeah, 4 Teferis are really, really good. But like a 5 mana removal spell, essentially, or a 5 mana draw 1, potentially save you 5+ life on the turn he comes down, isn't particularly good in Historic. I feel like you just need to find the 1 Teferi late game and take over with him. You don't need loads and loads. But I did feel comfortable today when we had like 2 or 3 in hand, or we had more than 1 happening at once, which gave you a little bit of protection. But maybe just between Narset, Shark Typhoon, and Search Cantor, we just have enough threats and card advantage that we just don't need the 4th Teferi. But as always, let me know, guys, what you think in the comments down below, because kind of a wrap up there. That's just my thoughts on this list and different variants and things we could change. But it's always interesting to hear what you guys have to say, because we're trying to do this together. We're building this, and I love it when you guys comment down below on different things that could be changed, because yeah, it's just great to make them additions and keep changing them up, because otherwise we'll just end up playing the same Jeskai Control list every week, because loving Jeskai at the moment, so expect to see a bit more Jeskai coming up. Probably going to give Azorius a bit of a break this set. I'll play it a few more times, but from the last video, it just didn't go down too well, but probably Dimir and Grixis. I want to turn maybe Grixis into more of a mid-range list for this set, but we'll play it a few more times because it's got a lot going for it, I still think, at the moment, though it didn't have too many new cards. But if you're not interested in any of them lists that I've sort of just gone over, let me know in the comments down below like what you want to see, any things coming up. And if you don't want to see any control, say you want to see a mid-range list, an aggro list, a combo list, throw it down either with your exact deck list or just like a suggestion around a card or something you'd like to see played, because like it's really, really good when I get them sort of suggestions, because it's just new videos we can make. Because control is great, but sometimes we're in the mood for a break for control, so always good for that. But yeah, I'm going to shut up now. I make these endings far too long as it is, but that's the wrap up. Let me know what you guys want to see, and until next time, stay safe.